Hey up everyone, in today's video I want to talk about 5 things that should be introduced into the UFC. The first thing we're going to start off with is a referee camera. Now if you're asking what that is, they used to do this back in Pride days. They would wear like, I don't know how they did it, I think they had like a camera by the side of them that was strapped around the back of the head. I don't exactly know how it worked, but they used to have like a camera so you could see like a first person perspective of the fight. I just feel like this is just, you know, who's the closest to the action when it comes to the fights? It's the referees, you know. Yeah, the cornerman maybe have a bit of a view, but still, the referee has the best view out of everyone. He's right there in front of the action. I just feel like a referee camera would just add more, add more to highlights, would get a different perspective of things. And maybe if, I don't know, the referee was in a controversial, you know, like Herb Dean fucks up or something, made a bad decision, you know, we can review that and check his perspective, and maybe we could get a better understanding to why he made a certain decision. You'd be like, oh, well, from his point of view, I can see why he did that now, and maybe justify to why they made that decision in that moment. And again, I just thought it was a cool thing to have, and then they ended up, it was never really a part of anything else. I think this would be a great thing to bring back and introduce it into the UFC again. It worked in Pride, why not bring it to the UFC? You got a better view of some knockouts, some scrambles, stuff like that, people getting taken down. And I thought it was a really good addition to Pride. Next up, I'd like him to introduce more weight classes. Now, I don't mean take the piss like boxing and have 500 different weight categories with 500 different champions. I don't mean that at all. I feel like that takes away from the sport a bit. But I just feel like it could make a lot more sense. Now, hear me out. From 125 to 155, so from flyweight to lightweight, it's a £10 difference each weight. So 125, 135, 145, 155, all £10. And then the jump from lightweight to welterweight is £15 difference, you know, 155 to 170. And then the jump from welterweight to middleweight, again £15, 170 to 185. And then the jump from middleweight to light heavyweight is £20, 185 to 205, and then after that it goes to 206, and I think for heavyweights it's 206, between 206 and 265, because they just do what the fuck you want, I suppose. But it's never really made sense to me. Why don't you make it consistent? So it's just £10 overall. So 125, 135, 145, 155, 165, 175, 185, 195, 205, and then you have the heavyweights afterwards. You know what I mean? So why don't you do that? It's only adding on what, like an extra 2 different weight divisions. Weight cutting won't be as big of a problem, man. You know, you'll have more fighters going in their actual weight classes. I know people like to say about weight bullies, and I don't believe in weight bullies, but the part I'm looking at it, the way I look at it, I don't like fighters, you know, really harming their body just to make weight in a certain weight category. If we make these changes, so it's not a drastic change in weight difference between each weight division, then, you know, maybe that will help it a bit more. I just feel like it'll be better. We'll see more fighters fight in their, you know, their prime weight, really. You know, many people who are maybe too big for lightweight, but too small for welterweight. Like RDA, obviously he's old now, but in his prime, he was just too big for lightweight and too small for welterweight. So it kind of fucked him over and he was stuck a bit. I know Colby Covington said he would like to make 165. So there's plenty of fighters who would like to do a 165 division as well. And I feel like could just do some more, maybe call the 165 division light welterweight, something like that. I'm not good with the names. And then you have like 195, like, I don't know, you can introduce like a cruiserweight, you know, like, I just feel like this would make a lot more sense weight category wise, and again, it's just a lot more consistent. Next up, we're talking about Pride again, and that's because of their rule set. In Pride, you were able to kick people on the ground, like soccer kicks, soccer stamps, they'll call it football in England, but regardless, in MMA, they'll call it soccer kicks, you know, soccer stomps, stuff like that, and knees to grounded opponents. You were allowed to do that in Pride. I think that should be back in the UFC. Now, some people like to say, oh, that's way too brutal. Okay? So is kicking someone while standing up. Like, so is a normal head kick, you know what I mean? So is an elbow to the dome. So is a massive knee to the dome standing up. Like, I don't think lying down on the ground changes any of that. If anything, it'll influence some of these grapplers. Oh shit, I can be in real danger if this goes messed up. You know what I mean? So I think it should be reintroduced personally. If you're against it, then fair enough, I suppose. Some people start to say, oh, that's way too brutal. It's like, at the end of the day, they're all giving each other CTE anyways. You know, you think all these punches are accumulating, elbows, knees, kicks, they're accumulating, aren't doing any damage? Of course they are. Of course they are. Like, I've never understood it. I think it should come back. I just think it makes it more, you know, in certain situations, there's more options for entertainment. And not only that, just for the fighter in general to get out of a situation and to inflict damage. And that's the whole point of fighting, inflicting damage. And I think the more ways you're able to do that, the better. Maybe a lot of people disagree. I know this can be quite a hot and cold topic. There's no right or wrong here. That's just my opinion. I think soccer kicks, soccer stamps needs to ground the opponent, should come back. I know they're bringing back 12 to 6 elbows to finally let it happen, which is great. That's been done for like not been allowed for so long now. The reason why John Jones has a loss on his record is because of that rule set with 12 to 6 elbows, and now they're finally bringing that in. Next up, we have a controversial one, and that is to get rid of the octagon. Now, I just think the octagon is a bit of a nightmare for anyone who's ringside trying to watch, and you know, even some of the cameras, it's like, you know, I just think you could do better. You could actually have a ring. Maybe people think I'm going full back to Pride. I'm not. That's not the main objective with this video. Bring back Pride to the UFC. No, I'm not trying to do that. But a ring is much easier to look through than an octagon. It serves the same purpose, you know. But I think we could go one step better. If you know karate combat and you see how they're like their little fight pit, I suppose you call it, it's like a flat ground and then it's just got like a few edges like that, but you can still see clearly. You can see clear as day. I think that could suit MMA perfectly. I think you could ditch the octagon and just have it how karate combat has it. I think that could work. And then you don't have to see these boring fights where a fighter holds another fighter against the cage for 25 minutes, 15, 25 minutes, you know, stuff like that. You wouldn't see those performances, you know. This would work. I feel like this would work for and against grapplers. Obviously, they can't hold them against the thingy. At the same time, the person trying to defend the takedown, not trying to get taken down, they can't rely on the cage to keep them up, you know. It's either they're going down or they're not. Simple as. I think this would work. I think this would be much better if we had it just like open mat. I think it's better, again, a better view as well. You know, there's nothing obstructing your view. There's no ropes, there's no posts in the corners, there's no octagon, you know, with all the mesh, and I just think that would be much better. And you could, you know, if UFC could do the same old thing and have all the fucking sponsors plastered looking all ugly and shit. But yeah, I think this would be a mint idea, but I don't think UFC would ever do that because the octagon is like their whole branding now, you know what I mean, the octagon. So I think it would be a cool idea to have like the karate combat, like a little fight pit. And the final thing I'd like introduced to the UFC is more customization for the fighters. Now, maybe you could say this is a removal, because this used to be in the UFC. Fighters could have their own custom shorts, they had their own custom like fight banner behind them when they're getting introduced by Bruce Buffer. They could come out with wearing whatever they wanted. I just thought it looked so much better compared to like now where everyone's just wearing Fight Venom uniforms pretty much. It's a fucking uniform. And I know, yes, fair play to Venom, by the way. They've been doing these nice custom fight shorts. Some of them don't look the best, but some of them do, you know. Some of them look quite alright. Fair play to Venom, but overall, I just miss it when fighters have their own customization. I know it's something to do with the UFC wanting more money. Like, I just feel like it fucks over the fighters a bit more as well, you know, not getting their own sponsors. I know a lot of fighters would get like loads of money off their own sponsors, but not only that, how much it stood out. Remember when Demetrius Johnson had the Xbox sponsor? Me as like a teenager who loved playing on consoles, I was like, whoa, that's sick. Xbox is sponsoring this MMA fight. That's unreal. And then you had like Anderson Silva and John Jones with the Nike shorts. Obviously, Anderson Silva with the classic black shorts with the yellow on the back part. You know, it's like a clear thingy for Anderson Silva. Only Anderson Silva would wear that. And it was like a big staple of his branding and his customization. And again, just a big company like Nike sponsoring him. That was a big deal. I think he also had like a Burger King one or like Assassin's Creed. Like, you had these big sponsors wanting to take part, and now at MMA, and especially the UFC, has become even bigger Why not go back to that? Now, I know, again, they have these fight deal, like, yeah, you had it with Reebok, which was fucking awful, and now you have it with Venom, and I think Venom have done a better job than Reebok, so credit to them. I just don't like these fight kit deals. I miss it when fighters had their own sponsors, like in boxing, how they get their own sponsors and get paid a lot for it. You know, there's always this topic of fighter pay and all this, that, and the other, and I was going to include that in this video, but I thought, no, let's keep it a bit more fun. And custom, you know, with fighter pay, if it is this shitty, at least let them get their own sponsors. At the very fucking least, let them get their own sponsors, man. Get in that extra bit of money. And I know a lot of them are getting a fair bit of money from these sponsors. Why not allow it? Again, it was good for the branding, and it just saves every fighter looking for a generic same. Again, I know you've introduced custom fight shorts, but that's only for specific fighters. It's not like every single fighter on the roster gets their own custom shorts. Let them get their own custom shorts like they used to, with brands on them again. Unfortunately, we won't get it, but I'd just love for this to make a return. But yeah, those are the 5 things I'd like introduced into the UFC. What about yourself? Let me know in the comments. Do you like some of the suggestions that I've made? Do you dislike some of them? What things would you introduce into the UFC? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.